Okay guys, next Resplendent, Tailtiu. This one is a more difficult decision to recommend, but we'll do our due diligence and hopefully help you guys think about whether another FEH month is truly worth it with a character like Tailtiu. Is it? Let's go.
Let the lesson begin.
What's up guys, Akariss here, bringing you another Fire Emblem Heroes video. Today's video is going to talk about the upcoming Tailtiu Resplendent. So it is a 3-4 star unit, and therefore there is some interest to talk about here. Believe it or not, Tailtiu is still fairly unique, which we'll get into with the video of course, but yeah, she's an interesting option for some. I'd say before I even get into the meat of this video, the competition is fierce for Tailtiu, and that's because blue tomes on both defense and offense is a pretty competitive spot. I'm just going to list out a few, but basically like Guinivere, Micaiah, Reinhardt, Ishtar. So even just naming those, you can already see like, oh, why would I want to use Tailtiu? But there is a place, and I will get into that, into some specific scenarios where Tailtiu definitely could stand out as a viable option. So without further ado, before we start, smash the like button, sub if you haven't already, and of course let me know in the comments below what you think of Tailtiu as a Resplendent, or even if you are sub to the FEH or maybe considering it. Yeah, so I'm going to start with a quick art review here, and honestly, I'm not going to get this one wrong. This one is Emblem by Tailtiu. I'm indifferent. Yeah, it's not really much to say about this one, I guess. I think it's pretty good. It fits the whole like thunder aspect that both Tailtiu and Ishtar share. We could very well get an Ishtar Resplendent in the future, but for someone as old as Tailtiu, there's actually quite a good Resplendent to have for some fans of her, or potentially, which we'll get into, why you might want to use her. So yeah, let's go. First up is her stat spread with the Resplendent stats. As you can see, her speed stat is actually pretty nice. It's like 37 base is not bad at all, especially in this day and age, and 34 attack is serviceable. Now, pre-Resplendent, it's not as good, like 32-35 is a bit dated, but 34-37 is pretty solid. So she definitely can appreciate that upgrade, and she is one of the candidates for which you can bump up to 20 flowers, I believe. So yeah, winning at least in that aspect. First build I want to talk about and cover is going to be, or first few builds I'm going to talk about, is actually defense. And this is where I think she truly stands out compared to her competition, because she is essentially the one unit, one range unit in the game that can benefit from Wrath. That's very unique to her, the only thing that really benefits her compared to all of the competition. So special acceleration, or ways to activate that special, is going to be huge. Now the HP condition is unfortunately a bit inconvenient, but there's ways to work with it, and as you can see from the build displayed here, it's not 20 flowers, but again, we just got that upgrade, so I don't assume most people have that access yet, but you know, you can get even better. Fury 4 is a good way of doing it. Push skills are also pretty good, which aren't shared here. Again, use what fodder you have, but recoil damage is solid for Tailtiu, because if you use that, then you're going to likely set up Tome of Thoron to do some nukes on follow-up turns. There is some synergy here with Time's Pulse as well, and even stuff like Desperation or Vantage. Those all actually work pretty well. Brazen, one of the few users who actually would appreciate something like Brazen, depending on your layouts. And speaking of layouts, I do want to showcase some potential way of using her to keep her competitive on defense, especially when you're thinking about like Reinhardt being on defense, or potentially Ishtar as well. And that is the use of either Annette or Legendary Azura. So if you use either or, you can make her effectively a cavalry unit. And I've run into some defenses where this is the case. So essentially with Legendary Azura and Tailtiu being the 7th unit, meaning she turns off at the beginning of the turn, you can pretty much set her up to have extra movement equivalent to that of cavalry teams. So you use, let's say, Wrath, Nana, and like dual lift on the side here with Nott's Pathfinder, and you're having some pretty sweet overlapping range thanks to someone like Legendary Azura. Yes, this is somewhat weak to isolation and such, but it's okay. Like, it's still going to at least potentially threaten quite a few people, and the follow-up turns will be pretty good. On top of that, she benefits from non-healing tower teams or non-healing in general, and lightning trap placements. If you can set up your lightning trap in a manner which people might want to step on it, like maybe putting the lightning trap even deep into their territory, and Tailtiu gets hit by that, maybe running even Vantage Tailtiu on defense, she, again, is going to set up with Tome of Thoron for potentially big nukes. So I am a fan of that. Keep in mind this is like an anima Tailtiu here on the side here, but generally speaking, you can run even on Dark, pretty much the same build, use QP, Luna, whatever. It's all going to work pretty nicely, and trying to focus on her base effect of Tome of Thoron is a way for her to stand out compared to her competition, because that extra plus 10 true damage plus special acceleration when she is damaged is unique to her, and that's exactly how you should try to use her. So again, if you want to do Tailtiu, that's the way to do it. I gotta admit though, the refine is pretty bad, and I would not recommend refining for Darting Blow, because just refining stats is going to give you extra 2 HP and either more defense or speed, which is very much appreciated. So if you're going to use Tailtiu, don't run with like the Darting Blow. It's not going to matter, I'd say, in most cases. The base effect of Wrath will definitely matter in a lot of scenarios. Now, the final way I feel like Tailtiu could be used for you Tailtiu fans is going to be a offense build. Something pretty standard compared to, you know, the competition, which ends up being like Micaiah and Guinivere, for example. And that is pretty fierce competition, by the way. Like, either of those probably are going to do better than Tailtiu in most cases, but I feel like there are some solid ways still to make Tailtiu work, and it doesn't have to be like Noontime, it could be like Soul here. You could use partners like NY Valoria, but for immersion's sake, I'd actually recommend potentially just pairing her up with Arden this time. And not, I mean, some of you probably expected like Black Knight, but I feel like I've been plugging Black Knight in every single near save combination here. But honestly, Arden is like fairly good too, and you can honestly run him with Tailtiu as well, because that synergy between Arden's near save and Tailtiu working as a range tank is a great overlap, because any green units potentially that threaten her, or just, you know, melee units, something like Syros, which, believe it or not, Arden with Divine Fang, potentially not even having to use Divine Fang, should be able to kill Syros. He'll take a huge chunk of damage, but again, he'll protect Tailtiu pretty well from having to deal with stuff like that. So again, Arden, solid partner, just like Black Knight. You could use Black Knight, but let's keep it immersive. At least they're like from the same game and whatnot. So yeah, you could use offense Tailtiu as well. Keep in mind this is pre-blessings, and her stat spread lends well to this. Like, you have that high HP. Once you add in some blessings, it gets pretty nice. And her defense and res are actually fairly balanced as well. If you consider, like, let's say Naga to bump up the defense even further, you're going to have a solid offense tank. The fact that she's in the 3 and 4 star pool helps here. And of course, if she's damaged, she gets boost to her special because of that Wrath effect, which is actually great on player phase as well, not just a enemy phase tool, because then you're likely going to be able to secure way more kills with her. But as I said, it's the competition being basically Micaiah and Guinivere, who are very, very solid infantry blue tomes. It's going to make Tailtiu a little bit questionable when it comes to using her this way, and I couldn't really recommend it. But if you are a Tailtiu user, I'd say defense is the way to go, especially with some sort of movement buff in one way or another. You could use orders teams as well, which I didn't showcase, but Azura, Annette, defenses could definitely appreciate that. Or even just Legendary Sigurd, let's be honest, like that guy just works pretty well. So yeah, guys, that pretty much covers Tailtiu as a Resplendent. I don't think this one is like extremely exciting compared to some. You know, like I think like the most talked about or most exciting ones are going to be like Reinhardt. Even Elwood had a pretty solid impact. But yeah, beyond that, like, I mean, I guess Micaiah, but like beyond that, they don't always get to stand out, and some 3 and 4 star options could be a lot better as time passes. We'll see what we do, but we're still kind of like on the book 1 kind of units here and there. Alright guys, that's it from me. Thank you for watching as always. Again, smash the like button, sub if you haven't already. If you love this content and you want to keep see it coming, Patreon in the description below is the best way to go about supporting the channel. And with that, you do get access to Discord and Discord streams and more hands-on help when it comes to improving your game. Thank you guys. See you in the next one. Much love. Peace.
It's over.